So the breakup's over. Now what? That's a good question. I'm actually glad that you're thinking about these things, because sometimes we can get so caught up in the past and the breakup and what did the breakup mean and all of that we don't make room for what's going to happen next. So the fact that you're even thinking about this is a good thing. I say this because after my last breakup, I spent months and months trying to understand what happened, what went wrong, and how could I fix this? How could I make it go back to the way it was? So if you're making room for the space of what could be, that's a good thing. Eventually I got there too, and it's when I started focusing on the future that things started to get a little bit better for me. I'm going to give you 7 tips to work on yourself after a breakup. After all, you can't change your ex, right? But you can work on yourself. So when my ex broke up with me, I had started this habit of drinking soda and not really eating very well, always eating the same things, and always basically eating crap that, you could microwave it really quickly, or it was just like obvious junk food, obvious stuff that was not good for me. And of course, in moderate amounts, all of that stuff is fine, but I was eating it all the time, and I knew it was bad for me, and I knew that even though it made me feel temporarily good, in the long run, it really wasn't that good for my health, and I could feel it. Even though the sugar and the carbohydrates and all the salt and wonderful things that we love made me feel good for the moment, and that was okay. I needed that to kind of get me through. It wasn't going to be good for me long term, and I felt it wear away at my mood as the days rolled on. So my first tip would be to look at your diet and look at what you're doing for exercise and see if there's anything that you can change there. And I say this because we know that diet and exercise affects your mood. It has an effect on the chemicals, the hormones, and the neurotransmitters and everything that you need to have a good mental health. Now, of course, if you're somebody who's had trouble with food in the past, if you have an eating disorder, maybe you have special needs when it comes to diet, if you have medical conditions, talk to a doctor, talk to a dietitian. Don't just go changing things willy-nilly, but I would say try to get these things on track, because they will help your mood and they will help you feel better after a breakup, and generally you'll probably just feel better about yourself. Sometimes there's also that added benefit of looking in the mirror and feeling great when you see that person smiling back at you, but don't worry so much about your image and don't worry about attracting a new partner or anything. This is really just about how you feel internally and how the food and the exercise affects your mood. For me personally, I started doing stretches, and that helped me a lot, especially because I had symptoms of PTSD, so I was not normally in touch with my body, and I really needed to get back in touch with my body in a way that helped me to feel safe when I was inside my body. So that helped me a lot. And honestly, more recently, even though it's been a couple of years since my breakup, I've been doing exercise, more weight training and physical calisthenics and stuff that I used to love doing that I stopped doing. And I can definitely feel the difference in my body, and it feels good. It really comes down to what feels good and what feels right for you, and what does your doctor recommend. When it comes to the second tip, the breakup, the relationship that you were just in can actually help to inform you to work on yourself, and that is to work on your communication. In the middle of our relationship, me and my ex, we had communication issues, and they were brought to our attention by a therapist, and she gave us some exercises to work on for active listening. And active listening is basically saying that you heard somebody, repeating back to them what you heard so that they have confirmation that you actually heard them, making sure that you actually got all of the information. So asking, did I hear that right? Am I getting that right? Making sure you give them the time and the space to speak. This is just one skill that I needed to learn, and my ex really needed to learn as well, and this was still something I could practice even after the breakup. For me, I really got into workbooks during the breakup and after the breakup, and this helped me with a lot of stuff, with DBT skills in particular, dialectical behavior therapy. It's a type of therapy, but it has skills in it that anybody can use when it comes to communication. So I worked with the DBT workbook. I have a link to my favorite books down below in the description. And doing these things really helped me realize, like, maybe I could be more empathetic to people, and maybe I could improve my communication. And honestly, we all can. It helped me to learn different ways of relating, like having healthy boundaries that I didn't have before, and working on these things in these workbooks helped me realize that maybe I felt like I was expressing empathy, but maybe the other person couldn't see that, or maybe I was getting upset in situations that I didn't even realize I was getting upset in, and the way I was communicating was showing that, and maybe triggering my partner into feeling certain ways, and it helped me understand like there's an exchange of information when we communicate, and the way we communicate and how we communicate actually matters and has an effect on the quality of our relationships, whether those be intimate relationships or even just friendships. So practicing these skills mattered for all of my relationships, and I'm grateful that I took the time to do that. The third tip that I have for you is probably kind of obvious, but look at the bad habits that came out in your relationship, or maybe what are some of the bad habits you got into during the breakup because you were trying to cope. How can we improve upon those, and how can we replace those with new good habits? Probably one of my worst habits was ruminating over all of the negative things that were going on in my life and obsessing over what people were thinking and what they were doing and having generally paranoid feelings. And a lot of that's normal after a breakup, to be suspicious of people, but that was becoming a habit of mine that I needed to switch. I needed to change the way that I looked at things. I don't know if you've ever been around somebody like that, but somebody who's always judging you, somebody who's always questioning you, somebody who's always trying to like get to the heart of what's going on, it makes it really hard to relate. You need some breathing room in any kind of relationship, a friendship or an intimate relationship. When it comes to habits though, I think sometimes we forget that just getting rid of a habit is really hard. It's probably easier to replace a habit with something else because you're already used to doing something. If you can just slot something else in there or try to push out the old habit with the new one, I think that's a little bit easier than just trying to drop a habit altogether. So for me, I tried to remind myself of positive things happening in my life. I tried to notice little things like this beautiful scenery around me. Instead of freaking out all the time, I tried to help other people with their issues, and I started making videos and going on walks like I do now, and that's helped me and my mood and my relationships a lot. The fourth tip that I have for working on yourself after a breakup is to work on those mental health issues that you know are lingering in the background. It may not seem so obvious when you watch my videos here, but I have had a huge host of mental health issues, and I still sometimes continue to have mental health issues that I need to work on constantly, but after a breakup, this would be a great time to tackle those. Maybe the pain of this breakup is enough to push you in to go and talk with a therapist, with a professional who can really listen and understand and get to the heart of what's going on. Breakups can be very triggering, and they can bring out the worst in us, and they can bring out all these mental health issues that maybe we tackled or we thought that we had conquered, but now they came back. We've relapsed, and all of these bad coping skills, they're coming back into our lives, and we may need additional assistance. For me, the breakup brought up a lot of trauma, and I didn't even know that I had trauma in my life. I didn't know that was a thing. It was when a therapist pointed it out to me that I realized, oh wow, this is like affecting all of my life, and this is probably a good part of what's going on here with the breakup. So that therapist I'm grateful for, because she gave me the key to start to look into what is trauma, how does it affect you, why is it affecting me. It helped me figure out some triggers. It helped me figure out how to make those triggers less painful and less anxiety inducing and making me freak out all the time. And I have, so I can do things now like driving, where I used to have a lot of trouble going and driving somewhere. I don't have that freak out session beforehand, and I don't have that hesitation. And really, ultimately, this is going to make all of your relationships from here on out better, whether they be intimate or friendships, because it opens up the possibilities for your life, and it gets rid of some of that negative stuff that you're always dealing with. If you're not comfortable yet to go in to see a professional, remember there are things like workbooks that you can buy online. I use those a lot, and those helped me a ton in addition to seeing a therapist. But there was also support groups. There's my videos and other mental health videos, tons of mental health videos on YouTube. I did a whole series on mental health channels, so I'm going to link to that. You can check those people out. But there's resources out there. Mental health is something we should always be working on, in my opinion, and after a breakup especially, this is a good opportunity. The fifth thing that I think is good to work on after a breakup, and it's related to mental health, is our attachment styles if we have an insecure attachment style. I also have a whole series on attachment styles, but if you have an insecure attachment style in general, when it comes to intimate relationships, they're hard for you. It's hard for you to get intimate. It's hard for you to get close. You either get too close and smother somebody, or you back off too much and it's hard to have a relationship. Or it could be a combination of both of those things. And I had actually gone into a research study about attachment styles around the time of my breakup, so I knew that I had generally a preoccupied anxious attachment with people, and I worked on that, and through working with the trauma that helped a lot, and I saw my change. I saw my attachment style change. So Don't feel like you're stuck if you have an insecure attachment style. It definitely can be changed. I have moved to a secure attachment style myself. And it's something that's going to help you with all of your relationships, really, as all of these tips do, because we need to be intimate with our friends and we need to be super intimate with our lovers in order to have those relationships be fulfilling. When we have an insecure attachment style, though, we feel insecure and we always are on edge when we're around somebody in a close way. We're never really sure that we can have a stable relationship. Things don't feel good. It just brings up a whole host of problems in our relationships. So now that we're out of a relationship and maybe things won't feel so threatening, this could be a good time to work on our attachment style. Even better, do it with a therapist who knows about attachment styles and can help you. My 6th tip is to start forming more social bonds or reinforce the social bonds that you had in the past, whether that be friendships, family, or potential dates. Humans are social animals, and it feels good to us to be around people that we can feel safe with. So who better to do that with than old friends that maybe we pushed aside when we got into a relationship? Maybe this is a good time to call them up, send them a text, give them a little message and say, hey, I have some free time. I'm maybe having a hard time with things, or maybe you don't want to go there. Maybe you just want to be like, hey, let's hang out. Let's go to the park or walk around and do whatever, go to a bar, whatever is appropriate for you, whatever you both like to do. Go ahead and do that and start to feel, a little bit more normal again. Because I know after a breakup, I definitely felt like things were not normal. I isolated and it wasn't good for my mental health. Being around people that help us to feel safe can release some positive hormones, neurotransmitters in our body and help us to feel a little bit safer and good again. Just like exercise and diet does, people can do that too for us. So it's good for you to get around people, new people if it needs to be new people, old people, whatever you feel safe with, whoever feels good. Spend your time with those people, the people who have healthy boundaries. And while you're around them, notice what it is that you like about being around them. Why do you feel safe with them? Look for those habits and think about how you can incorporate those things into your life and how you relate to people. The 7th tip is one that can help with all of these tips, and I know when you hear it, you're gonna groan and say, no, really, this is a tip, come on. But it helped me a ton through my whole life, really, but especially after the breakup. And that tip is to be mindful. Now I know you're sick of hearing about meditation, but meditation really is good for you. So I'm gonna say it again. Yes, meditation can help you. Meditation can help you keep a clear mind, can help you direct your thoughts instead of having your thoughts direct you. And meditation can be important for the people who can do it. But let's say meditation's not your thing. Meditation's not the only way to be mindful. You can be mindful petting a pet, an animal, running your hand along their back and feeling what does that feel like for you? How does your body feel? You can be mindful by taking a walk and feeling your feet hitting the ground, and what does that feel like? What does the air feel like on your skin? You can be mindful by going to an art museum and staring at a piece of art and really taking in the colors and looking at the different textures and examining how does that make you feel, or how did that person create that piece of art? Maybe trying to conceptualize what somebody else thought before they created something. Mindfulness is really just about being able to be present like I am here in nature. I feel the beautiful air. It's a very nice day today. I hear all the sounds that you probably hear too of the bugs and the birds. And it feels good. It feels good to know that I'm connected and I'm not dissociated like I used to always be. And it will help you, as it helped me, to work on all of those things you need to work on, whether it be exercise. Mindfulness is very helpful with exercise, whether it be how you eat and your diet, whether it be the workbooks that you go through and the mental health issues. Mindfulness really helps a lot. So anytime you can fit that in, where you can just take a look at something and deeply enjoy it, or feel something and deeply enjoy it, go ahead and do that. Amplify the positive feelings. What else has helped you after a breakup? I'd love to hear. Let me know down below in the comments.